Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Paint a Mini. So I figured that we would finish up this one Massive Darkness set that I got a little while ago, this Heroes versus Lord Tusk, Sorcerers versus Lord Tusk expansion set here. Because I've done all the miniatures now, except for this one, who is, I guess his name is Silence? I guess. Okay, so yeah, that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to try to emulate the color scheme that's on the miniature right here. And to do that, the first thing that I started with was a base coat of pure black. So I've just got a layer of all black on there. And I think the first thing that I want to do is I want to start with all the low contours of the miniature. So I'm going to start with the skin on his face, right there. So I imagine him being pretty pale. His picture looks pretty pale. So we're going to use this fair skin color. Alright, I'm using a small-sized Reaper round brush here. It's just a little tiny brush. Nothing too tiny, but, you know, just small enough, because don't need to do too much for the face here. As you can kind of see, I'm leaving just a little bit of, I'm leaving the eyes just completely black for now, and I'm even leaving a little bit of space around the eyes black, and that way whenever we go over those eyes with, you know, our white color and then black for the pupils, have a little bit of a line separating the eyes from the rest of the skin there. So I think that'll work out. I'm going to rinse that off. Alright, I think that the next thing that I want to do is I want to coat the lining of the cloak. Now the cloak is kind of separated into two colors there. You've got kind of a purplish kind of tint on the inner lining, and then the rest of the cloak is that sort of midnight blue color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this Imperial purple color here. It's just a nice dark purple color. Alright, I'm just going to use a small dry brush here. This is specifically a dry brush. It's meant for dry brushing. So with dry brushing, what we're going to do is we're going to load up some paint onto the bristles of the brush, but we're actually going to wipe off most of it. And the reason why they call it dry brushing is because there's such a little amount of paint on the brush that it's almost dry. So that's what we're going to do here. As you can see, I've just got some paint on the brush there, but there's not a whole lot. So we're just going to use that, and we're going to coat, like I said, the entire inner lining of the cloak. Okay, and there we go. Now, like I said, the inner lining of that cloak just has a little bit of a purplish sort of tint to it. And I think what I want to do too, you know what, it looks like part of that tabard hanging there, like off of his belt buckle. Looks like there's a little bit of purple on there too. So let's do that. So I'm going to rinse that brush off. Alright, the next big part of the miniature is I'm going to take this midnight blue color. It's a really, really dark blue color. Alright, and I'm going to dry brush pretty much everything else about the miniature with this midnight blue color. Yeah, this entire miniature is just going to be a very dark miniature. I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, I think he's supposed to be like Shadow Dancer, rogue type character. So he just wears a lot of really dark colors. You know, it'd be kind of boring if he was just wearing all black. So they flavored it up with some purple and some blue. But yeah, I think that's cool. I think that this'll work out. I think that'll work out. Alright, so I'll rinse that off. Tell you what, while I've got that midnight blue color out and it's still wet, I kind of want to just take my small size brush and I just kind of want to coat the entire scabbard of the sword there with this midnight blue color. That'll just give it a really, really prominent blue color compared to the rest of the miniature. Oh, you know what? I didn't get, now that I'm looking at it, I didn't really get the tabard hanging off of his belt, the center of it. So let's do that really quickly. Alright, next up, let's just get that sword really quickly. Just a little tiny sword. I'm just going to use a little bit of home steel. Not going to need that much. And I'll just use that dry brush to just kind of get it on the sword a little bit. You don't want to just kind of like completely coat the sword with a complete layer of honed steel or silver, whatever color you want to use. If you have just a little bit of black underneath it, that gives it more of an actual, you know, forged steel kind of look, rather than a like a perfect sterling silver blade or something like that. That looks pretty good. Okay, so rinse out. Yeah, that's all you needed there. You really didn't need that much. All right, and next up, he's got kind of like some pouches and some little holsters there. Let's start with some dark shadow color, just a really dark brown color, basically. I'm gonna coat those with this color. I can use that small brush that I was using earlier. I'm gonna do the same thing with that belt that he's wearing. I'm gonna use the same color for that. That looks to be about it. Alright. Alright, and next up I'm just gonna accent those pouches just a little bit with some leather brown. It's just a little bit of a lighter brown color. Alright, so I'll go back to my dry brush. I'm just gonna really lightly dry brush those pouches. You know, we really don't have a whole lot to do anymore. That's the thing, is that this miniature, because it's just black, well, you know, so dark, once you just get that base coat of black on there and then you dry brush with, you know, a little bit of coloration and then you just get some details on there, that's pretty much it. Like, the details are going to be what really brings this guy home. So I'm going to go to some antique gold here. Alright, I'm going to use my little itty-bitty, teeny-tiny micro detail brush. This is just a little tiny brush that you can use to get some details on there. I'm going to start with the belt buckle. So I'm just going to really lightly go over the belt buckle with this antique gold color here. Alright, and then all of the kind of like studs and that kind of thing that he's got everywhere. We're just going to use some antique gold for those as well. Use it on the sword hilts for the crossguard. I gotta remember my medieval weaponry terminology. I'll get the crossguard right here. Not a lot else to do. Make sure I didn't miss any studs anywhere. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. Alright. Alright, so I'm just going to go to some pure white, and I'm just going to dab the eyes, and then we're almost done. Alright, so just be really, really careful. Once again, we're going to use our little itty-bitty, teeny-tiny micro detail brush here. And I'm just going to dot each little eye. Yeah, there we go. It brings out the eyes just a little tiny bit. Alright, and then I'll just go back to some pure black, which is what I used to do the base coat. Oh, maybe. Oh, okay. Well, sometimes when you've got paints like these and you have the little nozzles up in top here, sometimes the paints just kind of get stuck, get a little bit gunked up, and then a little nozzle there. Just take a little safety pin, a little dry safety pin, just kind of poke it in there, take it back out. That usually frees it up. Yeah, there we go. I don't need very much paint at all, so I'm just using a little small amount there. Alright, and I'm just gonna go back to my small little itty bitty teeny tiny brush here. Alright, I'm just gonna dot some pupils looking straight ahead to the eyes. And while I've got this too, I'll go ahead and use it to kind of make some eyebrows here. There we go. That'll work out. Okay, yeah, honestly, yeah, like I said, that's pretty much it. I think it's a really simple miniature just because, yeah, once it's very, very dark, so once you've got the black on there, you just kind of dry brush the other colors that you want over it. You don't need to get too crazy about the details or anything like that, which is nice about these Massive Darkness miniatures. I think the last thing that I'm going to do is I'll just take a matte varnish here, and I'll just put this in as a layer over the whole miniature. Alright, and I'm just going to use a really, really old, beat-up, large brush here that I don't really use for details or any real practical purposes anymore, apart from mostly just this kind of thing, like applying layers of varnish. So I'm just going to use that to apply this varnish, and that's going to be it. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's really, really wet and glossy looking right now, but as soon as it dries, it's just going to be a matte color. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So there you go. That's Silence from Massive Darkness. I really don't think you need to do very much with that miniature. I think that's a nice, simple one. And that completes my Sorcerers versus Lord Tusk expansion set from Massive Darkness. If you like the video, go ahead and throw it a like. If you want to see more miniatures being painted, go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you want to see miniatures being painted and board game, hobby, nerdy stuff, that kind of thing. I'll probably do more of the Massive Darkness set here. I do plan on painting all the miniatures that came with the board game Mansions of Madness, because that's a game that my wife and I are pretty into. So thank you again, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time on Let's Paint a Mini. If you have any recommendations or suggestions or requests for any types of miniatures from either Massive Darkness or Mansions of Madness, or even, you know, anything else like from from like the Reaper series Bones miniatures or that kind of thing, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Yeah, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.